Good evening and welcome to the Cardinal Way for Men Live. This is Ed Cardinal. And I always love when my own life experiences, I'm able to bring my own life experiences to these lives so that I'm able to share and hopefully help other men learn from my experience. And I'm sure some of you are going to be able to identify with what I'm about to say. And it has to do with my puppy Angel, who is really a great love and joy in our life, but also uh, he can be a little bit of a challenge, and that's what brought up this particular issue with me recently. You see, growing up, I was a sensitive, emotional boy, and I still am. And my father, deep down inside, was like that. He was emotional, sensitive man, but he was not in touch with that. He couldn't be because he had a father who was not a very pleasant man. So my father had these protective walls, guardedness to protect himself from that abusive father. So my father was not pleasant to be around for me as a sensitive boy. He was more in touch with his anger and his unhappiness. Um, so what I did as protection, probably similar to what my father did, is I made myself smaller. I went deep down inside myself. And generally, when I was around him, if he would try to engage me in conversation, I was silent. I wouldn't say anything. I was fearful of him. I was afraid I wasn't going to say the right thing, that I might be reprimanded. I might see some of his anger if I said the wrong thing. So basically, I had no voice, and I kept silent. And as you can imagine, as I got older, that is not a good place to come from. And it definitely brought up some challenges for me as I got into adulthood, and one of them was my alcoholism. So here's what happened with Angel. We've been having some challenges with him with something called resource guarding. He's very protective of his food, and in fact, he's being aggressive around that. So we're going to be dealing with a trainer around that. So, and I'll show you some of the results of that. So these are some of the scabs, and it's interesting when we have these old wounds. They're stored in our body. They're stored as energy in our body, in our cells. And I've done a lot of work on myself, and it's like digging through the layers. It's like unpeeling those layers. Um, but there's going to be times when, and I haven't done it all because obviously this came up recently. So like these scabs, what happened was it's like ripping the scab off of a wound. What came up for me during some of these aggressive moments with Angel is initially I matched his aggressiveness. I wasn't abusive towards him, but I would yell at him. I would reprimand him. And I learned later from a dog trainer that's not what you want to do. You want to remain calm. What I was doing was I was being like my father. I was replicating my father. And I felt, as I look back, I felt terrible about it. I don't want to be like that. So what happened was I went in the opposite direction. So a couple weeks ago, Angel started biting my arm, and I did nothing. I got away from him, but I didn't say anything and I didn't do anything. But immediately, when I looked at him, it brought me back to he became my father. He represented my father, where I had no voice, I was powerless, and I just took what he gave me. It was amazing how I became that little boy again. So I had to change something. I don't want to be aggressive. I don't want to be angry. Not that there's anything wrong with anger, but when it's when it's expressed in an appropriate manner. And I don't want to be passive. I don't want to be powerless. So somewhere in between, there's a balance, and that's what I'm working on. And that's what I'm learning. So, Angel gave me the gift of awareness. He gave me the opportunity to work on this, so that I can resolve it and release that energy from my body. So I'm able to create a new goal, a new behavior, and then take action on that. So what I'm doing now is, first of all, until we get more training, I'm removing myself from the potential of him biting me. Me and my wife are moving him to another area until we can put his food down. Then we release him. He's great at that, and I'll stay, fairly close, just so he gets used to me being there, kind of building up his tolerance. But I'm not going to put myself in that situation until we can get more training with him. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm taking back my power, so that this doesn't have to happen again. So I'm grateful to Angel for this opportunity. And I'm also grateful to my father for giving me something that I have to, a challenge that I have to work on. If life was easy, it wouldn't build strength within me to be a stronger man. So I thank him, my father, for that gift. And he wasn't as bad as his father. So he was a little less version of his father. So that gave me the opportunity to break the cycle. So I thank him for that. And I'm not saying my father's a terrible man. I've learned a lot of great lessons from him. But this is just one thing that I've had to take a look at and work on. And it's my issue, and that I need to take 100% responsibility for it. Someone else could have gone through that same family and not had the same reaction and response within themselves. Maybe they would have been a little bit tougher than I am. As I said, I'm a very emotional and sensitive man, and that has its sometimes its challenges. But I also like that part of myself, to be able to express my feelings and emotions, and be able to cry and be okay with it. So I really hope this was helpful for someone out there. And if it was, please let me know and drop a yes below in the comments. And until you see me again, be well. Take care. Bye-bye.